I find that really confronting. I think to be poisoned would be so awful. You have no control.
I don't know. That might be top of my list. If I were to get killed,
You'd want to be poisoned.
Maybe more than some of the others.
You're known for being afraid of like illness and
you are
not being able to control your
true.
body. So that makes sense to me.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
that's
my
true.
incontinence. Yeah. No, shit.
Amy and is a podcast that explores all kinds of bookish things, and that can include some pretty adult content. So please be aware that some of this content will be not safe for work or for young ears, and be careful who's listening when you are. Right, should we start the episode?
Yeah, should we do what we're here to do?
Welcome back to Amy and. I'm Amy Matthews, and it's 2026, which I can't quite believe. I feel like I blinked and last year passed. We were having so much fun. I am here today with Justina Ashman.
Hi.
Abby Guy.
Hi.
And Harry Stewart.
Hi.
And before we start, we'd like to acknowledge that we're meeting today on Kaurna land. So we're in Tantania, which is Adelaide, on the Adelaide Plains, the home of the Kaurna people. And we would like to acknowledge that this country has been a place of storytelling and knowledge for time immemorial, and we are very honoured to be part of that today. Anyway, welcome, guys. 2026.
Yeah,
I know.
Season 2.
I feel
Season
honoured
2.
to be on the very first episode of season 2.
Yeah, so do I actually.
You know,
Those
like,
people
fuck
that
it,
aren't
right
on
now.
it, you know, it's like, it's a bit interesting, isn't it? Yeah.
We're clearly what draws them in.
yeah. What everyone has
Start
missed
with
is
the host.
all of the beef that's happened.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Millie and
the,
Peyton don't exist anymore.
Within the last 8 weeks.
the
it was
drama, the
just
fights.
pretty
It's
crazy.
been really brutal. But
Yeah, it's like Desperate Housewives,
Yeah.
basically.
yeah.
Yeah, desperate.
Who's Brie Vanderkamp? Quickly.
And in
You
a sort
are.
of Highlander situation,
Honoured.
we're the only ones left. And soon we'll be taking out each other till there can be only one.
Yeah, that's
Taking
why it's
out
called
each
a
other.
book club. It's like Fight Club, but with books.
Yeah.
We just hit each other with books.
Killing each other works well as a segue into what we're talking about.
Yeah,
today,
nice
doesn't
way
it?
to get us on,
Nice way to get
on
us-
topic. I was going to do an overview first of this
We can do the overview.
We'll do the overview and then we'll come back.
There'll be another segue
Yeah,
into
we'll be.
murder. It's
There's
fine.
so many segues. We can segue
We can
back in a
threaten
bit.
harm upon each other at any point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can tell we've been off air for a while because we're a little bit random at the moment, but we have got the biggest season planned. And unlike last year, we're going to announce all the books straight up so you can get reading for the whole year. We're going to be covering YA fiction, queer sci-fi, dragons, more smart, always more smart, more horror. And we're kicking off this month with serial killer books. And partly that is because our book of the month, which is here behind me, for those of you watching at home, I'm going to tell you, it is How to Kill a Guy in 10 Dates by Shailee Thompson, which is out February 2026, and is a mashup of romance and horror in a way that we don't usually see.
I will say that our document, technically the theme of the month is bad romance, brackets, rah, 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 ah.
That's the
you wanna
original
sing
plan
that?
for sure.
So bad romance, but then we gravitated. I feel like, we do have more
'cause
romance
it's
next week.
It's like the like, I don't know, the bad kids of romance, where it's not just serial killers. We're looking at, other kinds of romance that, I don't know.
That intersects with other stuff,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like, there's a funny episode planned, which is coming up sometime shortly.
We're going to announce it. We should just announce that.
Announce it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So next
Watch
week,
all our views, our views and listens just spike dramatically
Yeah.
next week.
Yeah,
so next
honestly.
week we're going to be having, in honour of Peyton, who introduced the topic last year.
She's not dead, Amy.
Well,
No, she
apparently
is.
she,
In memoriam.
apparently she failed to make it out of Fight Club.
In memoriam.
So we're going to be doing sentient object romance.
I can't wait for that
I
conversation.
feel like, we approached it like, okay, we've got this, killery, murdery, thriller romance. Let's talk about anything adjacent. Anything possibly adjacent. And apparently that means sentient objects.
Yeah.
Having
Is
sex
that
with a
bad
block of cheese.
romance though? We'll find out next week.
Oh,
I
yeah.
really-
Might not be bad.
That's a bad romance is a thing that you could really spend a whole episode or two unpacking what that means.
I wish I was in that episode.
My hot take, I think romance good.
Romance good.
Soon.
Romance good.
Romance good, not bad.
Romance
Stop.
good. Okay, well, let's get into serial killers today because Shailee Thompson's book does deal with a serial killer. And I don't know about you guys, but I have a mini obsession with serial killers, which is a little bit disturbing. any of you interested in serial killers as a topic at all?
I feel like this sounds really bad, but
It
I feel like
does.
it's normal now.
Yeah.
We're all
Feels like
obsessed
they
with
made
serial
it,
killers.
the norm.
I-
If you're not into
They've
serial killers, you're
mainstreamed.
weirder. Yeah, they're mainstream serial killers.
I had a phase where I was listening to some true crime podcasts, and then I did have to stop because it just started giving me anxiety, like mad anxiety that I was going to get murdered in my home. And I was like, this isn't good for me. So I just stopped.
Yeah, I stopped too. I went through this phase of reading all the books about all the serial killers, and then I started having nightmares, and I felt like I was inviting it into my life. So
Yeah, I feel like
did
we all
stop.
take on what we're reading and consuming, though, right? So whenever I was doing the true crime podcast, I genuinely was like, "Oh, I don't think I can go walking around," or like maybe I should lock my doors when I'm at the lights, or you know, like
Normally
all this
I'm-
weird unnecessary stuff.
Normally I'm like concerningly unworried about being murdered to the point where like I've had friends being like, girl, what?
Why are you
please,
walking
please."
through the park?
Yeah,
lanes at 4
literally.
a.m.?
Why
What
are you
are
walking
doing?
around
Yeah.
by
I'm
yourself
like-
at night?
I feel like I'm just, my baseline is the opposite end of that, where I always think I'm going to get murdered. So listening to
You're always
crime
prepared,
doesn't really
like
change
keys
it.
between your fingers.
Yeah, when
prepared.
Harry was like, locking your doors at the lights, I was like, you're a
Yes.
man. So of course you're like, oh, no
Well,
one needs to
you're
do
right.
that.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, I have a privilege as a male here, so I'm like, I'm not worried, but I should be.
I just think take precautions.
We're all in various demographics of people who get targeted.
Yeah,
by serial
yeah,
killers.
you knocked out
yeah.
of that one.
All right, it's nice to know I've got the same chance as being murdered as the rest of you.
Yeah.
I didn't
We're
mean
all
ill.
welcome.
You can also be murdered.
I don't think so. I'm pretty quick.
But yeah, I went through this phase. So let's talk about the true crime podcast that you're in, because I probably read more books than listen to those kinds of podcasts. But I do remember, what was it called? The murderer one on Netflix. That was huge, the TV show.
Oh,
So,
Mindhunter.
No, the first one, the very first one. Oh my God, I should have done my research.
Was
because
it-
It's just coming out of my
There was a
mouth.
Jeffrey Dahmer one. There was
No, really early on. The one at, can we pause while I look this up in a
Yeah,
minute?
yeah.
You guys keep talking. I've
This
got
will
my
just get
phone.
cut out.
I'm actually going to look it up because it's driving me crazy. No,
I-
you guys are too young.
There was
Oh,
one,
what?
probably.
Jack the Ripper.
Well, Amy was famously alive when Jack the Ripper was.
Amy was terrified of it.
Yeah.
Making a Murderer. Do you remember
Making
that?
a
Oh,
Murderer.
Making a Murderer. Yes.
Oh my
Yeah,
God,
that was
everyone
not-
had to listen in real time to me Googling. That was embarrassing. But
that was. I thought that was like a fictional one though.
no, Making a Murderer was like very ethically dodgy. But it was, they sold it as like a doco, and it was like everyone was obsessed with it. I reckon you guys were quite young when it came out, because it feels like that was at the dawn of Netflix.
Would you argue that most, is there an ethical dodginess in all of
Yes.
the above?
There'd have to be.
Yeah.
Especially in some of the true crime podcast ones where they where they'll like dramatize a victim's account and then kind of use parts of the interview, and you're like, oh, this feels really, really off.
And there's always those like, you'll listen to a podcast and be like, wow, that was incredible. And then try to look stuff up about it. And it's all like articles about how the family are all really unhappy that it was made into a podcast.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh dear.
Yeah, I mean, I think I went through a huge Anne Rule phase of reading all Anne Rule's books. So one thing I liked about her books was she does focus on the victims a lot. Like, she tells their story and she really puts them central as human beings so that you grieve them, like, instead of just but even then there's like a dodginess to that, right? But at least it kind of, you remember that there's a victim in it, because I notice even we're living through the Epstein horrors right now, and so many people who talk about what's going on don't really talk about the victims, and
That
I
is
find
very
that
true.
shocking.
Yeah. And even in the true crime podcasts, they are usually talking about the killer and about the way that it was done. And they set this scene.
I also find that because there are so many of them, they're repeating the same stories. And so they seem to run out of these really, really old stories. They're starting to do more and more recent crimes. Like, I watched a TikTok individual who does the same thing as the crime podcast, but on TikTok, and was talking about a crime that happened last week and running through all of the details from last week. And I feel like they're getting too recent now, where that really does impact.
Also the violence.
Because that kind of been through the legal system yet.
Right? Yeah.
Also the violence, it seems so normalized too. Like, we can see the videos when they piece together CCTV footage of people that have been serial killers in the last 5 years. And it will be like, oh, here's him with the knife, walking through this, shopping mall with the blood just dripping everywhere.
Yeah, well,
this
this was
was
like
his first victim, and you're like, this is fucked up.
the autopsy results were accessible. And so they were talking about the autopsy results from a murder that had happened. Like, I'm pretty sure it was last week or a couple of weeks ago.
Legally dubious because they wouldn't have tried this at all. They would still be investigating. The first true crime podcast I listened to was Serial, because there was a period there where like everyone was being told to get into podcasts through being recommended Serial.
Yeah.
And then I really loved it. And I genuinely did not realize it was true crime. I was so impressed. I was like, oh my gosh, like the acting is so believable. I like the effects they put on the voices to make it sound like he's actually on a phone call from prison and like all this stuff. And I was like, the only thing I was annoyed about was that they didn't answer the question of did he actually do it or not at the end. Like, I can understand being ambiguous, but I want resolution in a crime story. And then my friends were like, no, it was real. They don't have a concrete answer because it's real life.
They also
hope
that they find a resolution.
There was no script. There was no final prologue, like epilogue.
But this is where I think I don't like the fact that crimes are true. That's something that upsets me. I would love the format, but with fake ones.
So there must be something, trying to think as someone who reads them, there's a kind of horror that you access that you can't access through fiction. Right? There's a feeling that's more intense.
I feel like it's the same feeling as, when you drive past a car crash and everyone slows down because they want to see. It's the same thing, right? But you're listening to it.
Just to get all Freudian, like he used to talk about Eros and Thanatos, like the life and death drives, and that humans had this fascination with death, which I think is that we do kind of gravitate, and like fiction adds this kind of layer of safety where you can make it a playground kind of thing, and the minute you bring in real life, that goes away and suddenly the fear and the horror is very, very stark.
Well, as a person that's never read it, I've only ever listened to true crime. I've never sat down to read a book. I think it would be really confronting, even more confronting than listening to it. Because there is this certain level of like production that goes on in these true crime ones. They'll put the effects on, they'll do like the music in the background when they're talking about setting the scene, walking down the dark street, whatever it is. So it kind of does feel a little bit more like you're watching like you're listening to a movie or listening to some sort of production. Reading it, I think, would be too confronting.
Yeah, and we've talked about how you can close the book though.
Yeah.
Like it's hard with a film or audio to like get it out of your head if you've just heard it, but a book you can close the book.
I feel like there is still a layer of distance when I'm reading them as well, because it's a book. There is still like this fictional kind of glaze.
You can control what you imagine, how far you imagine.
And it doesn't feel real. And a lot of the times as well, like the ones that are in book form that I've read are American. And so that also seems to add another layer for me of distance.
That's very true.
Well, we should probably mention that we're obviously in South Australia, which is serial capital of like Australia.
Yeah. Isn't it per capita the most serial killers? Like,
yeah, it's horrifying.
And really quite dreadful.
Yeah.
Like awful. If you look into that, which I don't recommend anyone do.
Yeah.
Really disturbing.
Yeah, my part of my family live really close to Snowtown.
Oh, yeah.
When all that was going down.
But there's a level of like voyeuristic, I don't know, almost like relish I find sometimes in the way some people interact with these true crime stories. In a way, I don't know, sometimes it's not always that like, I'm so horrified by this, I can't look away. It really does feel like I don't know, sometimes it's a gloating thing of like, oh, at least I would never make that mistake. Like you reassure yourself being like, I would never be a victim because I wouldn't have
feel
done
like
that.
I do the opposite. I use it as like, okay, what do I need to pay attention to? How do I protect myself? Because I feel like these people are definitely out there.
Oh,
yeah, I feel like it proves that it could be anyone,
them.
right?
Yeah.
Like, well, even, I mean, the victims could be anyone. Like, it's not like...
And
so could the serial killers. Like they're always like, wow, all his friends at work said they never thought he would do something like that.
This is why, I don't know if anyone's read it. I think I've got it here behind me, but Anne Rule's The Stranger Beside Me. I discovered that. I think I recommended it.
I read it in the beginning of my candidature because the beginning of my like PhD focused on serial killers. So.
And then it shifted.
And then it shifted drastically, but I mean, man, serial killers is kind of a link.
Yeah. I stumbled across it in a secondhand store and picked it up and was just like, I was like, how did I not know this? So she was an ex-policewoman, single mother. She was earning her income by working for a true crime magazine, and she was in Oregon. Washington State. I think Washington State near Seattle. And so she happened to be in this patch where all these serial killers were, like Ted Bundy, the Green River Killer.
Oh, you did tell me
like
this. Yeah.
all of these. And so she was writing all these short pieces for the magazine. And there was the Ted Bundy murders were happening at the time. And so she was talking to the cops. She was kind of covering it. Meanwhile, she worked at a suicide hotline at night with a young man who she was good friends with named Ted. And they were really, really close friends, and she knew his partner, and she like kept writing to him when he moved to Utah. And then of course, when it came out that her friend was the serial killer she was writing about, she was like, how did I not know? Like, how did I not pick this up? I've been writing about this case the whole time. So it's a really interesting examination of
like, how's the cats in Utah? You know, you enjoying the sunshine?
Yeah, so I thought it was really interesting because she's examining how even when you're writing about it and you're in it, she kind of even saw the sketch and was like, oh, that looks a bit like Ted, but that could be Ted.
I mean, that's like the thing we talk about in terms of like the pressure that you feel to just be polite even.
Yeah.
That even if people feel like something is off or they feel in their gut that there's some kind of dangerous situation, the idea of being like rude or making a huge scene or doing something embarrassing can sometimes stop them from doing the safe thing. Like again, not a true crime, but in The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, I remember watching the film and there's this scene where Daniel Craig is entering a house, and he, at this point, I'm pretty sure that this is the actual serial killer, the killer, and then he just politely answers the door and invites him in, and is like, "Oh, come in," it's just very friendly and polite, and he just goes into the house, even though, as an audience member, you're like, you should know better. What are you doing? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's like the people who survived Ted Bundy were people who listened to their instincts, because he would do things like, I've lost my keys by my car. Could you just like help me look for them? And there were just some women who got like their hair stood up in the back of their neck and they're like, he's just a bit off. And they'd just go no and walk away. But most people were polite. They might get that feeling of like, this guy's a bit off. But they'd be like, oh, I'm just being silly. He's a normal guy. Like, and I was thinking about how we are groomed to that.
This is how the patriarchy makes you gaslight yourself.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I don't need to worry about being killed because I'm just not that nice of a person. Because I think I'd be
You
like...
always say that, but you're actually a really nice
But I reckon
person.
if I was wrapped up in a
But
blanket with
often
a
they
glass of
say it-
wine and somebody said, can you come help me find my car keys? I'd say, well, no.
Well, often they say that most murders are people who know the other people. And if you're not a very nice person...
Yeah,
Shit.
the detective is going to be like...
That wasn't a...
Stab two.
We
Can
know
we get that
who's
on the
done
counter?
it. If you turn up missing, we know who did
The
it.
detective is going to be like, did Harry have any enemies or anyone who had anything against him? We're like, well,
Wow,
start.
we have the footage.
And then all of us on the podcast would be suspects.
Exactly. Amy's like,
yes,
do you want me to get
everyone
my
on the podcast
Rolodex?
would be a suspect.
Rolodex. I like that you think I'm that old. I still have a Rolodex.
Amy's got a little book of like, that's another strike against Harry. If it gets to a certain number, then the killings start.
I don't even know why I said Rolodex.
Oh, I love that you
it's
even
in
know
there,
what a
Harry.
Rolodex is. That's amazing.
Yeah, I see
I don't
them.
think I've seen one for like 30 years.
Oh, my...
I don't
My
know what one is.
grandfather
I'm
used
just
to have
going
one
with
on
it.
his desk. So funny, sorry. You're like neck snapped, almost like Rolodex.
Holy hell.
Why would you say Rolodex?
Should we pivot back to romance?
Yeah, let's. Oh, I just wanted to also
yeah.
cover. I've been reading, just because I'm reading it right now, is Helen Garner's, and I've forgotten the two other authors. I should have Googled this as well. But the Mushroom Tapes, which is about the Aaron Patterson
Yeah, I'm
murders.
interested in this one.
Yeah, and they cover but it's really interesting because they've just recorded themselves on the drives to and from the courtroom as they talk, and then they've transcribed it. So it's like you get to hear them talking about the ethics of things, like, oh, what about this? And do you think about this? So it's like this very kind of exposed ethical complexity of how do you even start to think about this kind of murder. Sarah Krasnostein, Chloe Hooper, and Helen Garner. And one thing I'm just realizing people may not know who Aaron Patterson is, because I remember when it first happened talking to Harry about it and you hadn't heard of it.
That was so funny. And you're like, where do you
Do
get
you
your
not
news?
read the news?
That was in the news cycle for months.
No, I know, but I
I
think
also don't
that
consume
neither of
the
them knew that
news.
we were at a book launch and I was like talking about it and you were both like, what? And I was like, have you never read the news?
I know,
Do you not
it's-
like get any
It was
incidental?
the way you said it too, though. And you're like, the lady that
The
poisoned a
mushroom
bunch
lady.
of people with the mushrooms.
The
And I was
beef
like,
Wellington.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
genuinely, I feel like for most of last year, you couldn't like have dinner with someone without someone being like,
You
"Oh,
couldn't
don't
swing
hope
a
you didn't have
mushroom
beef
without
Wellington."
running into Erin Patterson. So she was accused of killing her in-laws, and it was like aunt-in-law and uncle-in-law and her in-laws, and then it came out that she tried to poison her husband lots of times as well. But yeah, I was going to ask about that because there are a lot of serial killer histories in Australia. But I was thinking of Helen Garner books actually, because I also love Joe Chinque's Consolation.
I've read that one, but I don't remember a single.
Oh
part
my
of it.
God, it's a mad story. So it's about Anu Singh who she wanted to kill her boyfriend. So they were all in university in Canberra. I think Canberra, Newcastle maybe? Can't remember. Anyway, over that way.
Canberra.
Canberra,
Coast.
thank you. And then what happened was she had a dinner party and she told everyone, I'm going to kill my boyfriend. And they all went, okay. Like, I think they thought it was a joke. But she also had a lot of charisma.
They're like, haha, girl, me too.
Sure. And they all turned up and
I would do
she
that.
poisoned him. And then they all went home and then he lay there lingering for days and no one called the police. No one
Just
got
dead
him
at the
help.
table.
No, he was like lying in bed because she poisoned him, suffering. And then a friend came over and was like, and she's like, oh, he's still alive. No one called the police. No one got him any help. No one called an ambulance and he died, Joe Chinque. And so Helen Garner covered the trial. And basically that was one of the first big kind of trial
Right.
true crime books in Australia.
That is messed up.
But I was thinking part of the fascination with Erin Patterson and Anu Singh is that they're women and that they're intimate violences, right? Like they're and poisoning. Like women are often linked to poison. Because I do think there is this idea of like the widow, the black widow kind of woman.
I've definitely come across that. Yeah, that people saying that women tend to poison. I don't know how true it is, but
Me neither.
it's
they always say
Those two
poison
did.
is a woman's weapon, don't they?
Yeah.
Like,
There was a whole spate of them in the 19th century of women poisoning. I think it was easy to get your hands on, and a lot of people hated their husbands and you couldn't get divorced.
I also
and
wonder if some of it comes from like if you keep going further back, like is this something that people would associate with like witches and things? Like
So my brain went.
and also royals, I would have thought. Like, there were lots of powerful women in Europe.
Oh, the Medicis are famous for poisoning people.
And that was like, that was the weapon of choice for Catherine.
But then maybe it's also there's something about being physically smaller, like physically not able to overpower your husband, or I'm not sure. But
I
it's
find poisoning
interesting.
fascinating.
Yeah.
Because I've looked at when I went to try and write like a short story for how to murder somebody.
I know a lot
I
of
was-
authors who've Googled poisons.
Yeah, fascinating to find out how you would do it without it like appearing in your blood. And I used to ask like family members that were in the like medicine. I'd be like, "Would this show up?" And they go, "Oh, yeah, but you probably wouldn't look at it. Like, it probably wouldn't be the chief thing you'd look at in an autopsy if the body was
Fiction.
Yeah, for fiction.
Harry
yeah.
Googled it.
For
For
fiction, yeah.
Yeah.
for fiction.
There was a poisoning workshop at a writers' conference I went to once.
I saw one.
how
I
many
got
made it out?
told one about putting ink into people's like lotions if they've got open lesions. You can give them ink poisoning straight through their bloodstream, and you would never look.
When I was in high
and I was
school-
like, "That's fucked up."
When I was in high school, this is what my teachers would say to me when I would draw my hands in pen all the time.
Oh yeah,
You know,
yeah. Put it all over your.
little
arms
did
and
I
stuff
know
like
that was a real way that people get murdered.
Yeah. Well,
In
with
fiction.
enough quantity of it, yeah. But I find poisoning fascinating because it's so it's like it feels like the darkest in terms of because it's internal. It comes from the inside out, and I find that really confronting. I think to be poisoned would be so awful. You have no control.
I
over
don't
it.
know. That might be top of my list. If I were to get killed, like
You'd want to be poisoned.
maybe more than
Harry,
some of the
you're
others.
You're known for being afraid of like illness and
You
Yeah.
are
not being
you
able,
are,
to,
that
not
is
being able
true.
to
That is
control your
true.
body.
That is
so that
true.
makes sense to me.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
That's
my
true.
incontinence. Yeah. No, shit.
That's so
Just clip
fun-
that. Everyone just clip that. out
That's
of
so
context.
funny out of context as well, because I don't think the podcast knows about your thing with incontinence. So now you just sound like you're incontinent.
Let's not explain it.
Why do we sit on the couch?
Maybe just take a
25
minute
and
to explain that.
Yes. we were talking about our fears one time in a workshop.
Whoever's editing this can cut
at
this bit out.
uni. And then, don't you dare. And we were talking about our fears, and I actually said that one of my fears was I'm petrified of cockroaches, but I'm also petrified of incontinence. I think that's really scary to me. Like, losing control of your bladder is terrifying.
Yeah.
And
So I
therefore
am not
it being-
incontinent, camera.
But therefore, in being poisoned, there's a loss of control
Yeah.
of
Yeah, it's a
bodily
loss of
function,
control.
right?
And I think I could get away from a person with a knife, but if a person has drugged me or is poisoning me, well, I'm just going to lie down and
Yeah.
accept
Oh,
it.
it's the
But
loss
you'd
of-
rather be poisoned.
Well, I didn't even like hide and seek or chase as a kid. I don't want to be chased. I don't
Well,
want
that's
to be
fair.
tortured. Like, dude, make it quick. Get it over with. That would
Okay.
be the
See,
way I would go.
yeah, I hated Murder in the Dark was the thing when
Oh.
I was growing up, and I hated Murder in the Dark, but I wanted to play it all the time.
Isn't
Make
this
that
funny
make
though?
sense?
That's the name of it. That's the name of a game that we used to play.
Yeah.
Hide and seek, murder in the dark.
Yeah.
I'm now just realizing these like cat and
I
mouse.
don't like being chased. I don't feel like I'm a fast runner. I can't get away.
Why are we training ourselves to hide from serial killers?
I don't
Early.
know if that's the purpose of these games.
Murder in the dark.
I think the purpose of those games is for children to run around until they're tired.
Yeah.
We call them something happy then. Happy go chase. or
That
something, I
doesn't
don't
sound
know.
fun.
Kids are morbid though. They want
I
the
know.
morbid.
Think about it. Like Ring and Rosie's about the plague.
Yeah.
Like they're all pretty dark.
I also wouldn't like to be chased, but I also have this, and I understand that it's actually extremely delusional, but I have this belief that I could beat anyone in a fight. So I probably would
I
stand my
believe
ground.
Well, you made it to the first episode, so it clearly
I know.
happened.
Yeah, the other
yeah.
two conked.
Gone.
Out.
Yeah.
We had a box on in the garden before we started recording. No.
But no, I don't think I would like to be poisoned either, but I'll just...
I don't think I'd like to be killed in any way.
No, I don't think I
No,
want to
no.
be hunted by a psychopath. I don't want that. Yeah.
I worry because there's all the TV shows like You and Dexter, and I'm like, I feel like someone would outwit me as well. I feel like I'd be too slow, too dumb. I just don't want to be. I don't
You
want to
think
be in this.
super highly of yourself,
It was
clearly, Amy.
It was a TikTok
Amy
trend.
slow and Amy dumb.
Yeah. I'm not quick enough. I can't play chess. I can't be doing this
And
strategy
killers
stuff.
notoriously play chess, and
No, but
if you
you
lose, you
read,
die.
you read serial killer books like we're going to be doing this month, and they're always like the people who survive in horror are smart. They're like
That's true.
smart people.
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't think I've got final girl energy. I will admit
No,
that.
I haven't got final girl energy. I'm the nerd reading on the couch energy. Like seriously.
But then also, we're all we're relatively paranoid, right? Like if you're lying down, you heard something on the window. Do you think you'd be like, oh, okay, time to get up and do something about that?
I definitely.
Justine is
Deeply
giving.
unobservant. I would not even have heard it.
I
would
have
had my
I have
headphones
strong
on.
predator drive. I'd notice that. I would be locking
I
Yes,
would
doors.
notice
that's
it, but there ain't no way I'm checking it out.
So I think Justina would
Yeah.
bore the serial killer.
I also think-
because they wouldn't get
Amy's
the reaction.
Dumb and
Yeah,
slow,
yeah,
and
yeah.
Justina's boring.
Well, I feel like I
Just you
also
and I.
like it's partly it's the ADHD, right? If a door is open that was closed before, I'm not remembering that the door was closed
That's
before.
so fair.
Or like if an item is not where I last put it, I was like, oh well, that always happens.
But if you can imagine if they're looking for the reaction from you to be like, oh, are they going to notice
There's
something?
a-
So I think Justina completely glancing
There's
by.
there's a set of rules in the beginning of the book of the month about like what not to do based on horror films, which we won't go over now, but I do think it'd
Like
be really
in
interesting to be
Scream.
like, which step do you think would take you out? Yeah.
Oh, all of them. I'd fall at the first hurdle.
First.
I will be in a romance novel, thank you, rather than a horror novel.
Well, what if you had both?
Yeah, that's good segue.
Yes.
Well done.
Yes, thank you.
Wow.
So what happens when you put a serial killer in a romance novel?
Well, the beginning of my candidature, I was looking at serial killer romances because I'm really into South Korean dramas, and they have a lot of serial killer romances. But specifically, like there'll be a completely normal romance. You get like 4 or 5 episodes in, if not further, and suddenly there's a serial killer in the background doing like there's like a serial killer subplot.
So it's like a crime subplot.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's always a serial killer.
yeah. And there's always a crime subplot where that's like, oh, this is the final hurdle.
People are suddenly dying.
Is
Yeah.
it used as a vehicle to put life or death like stakes? into the romance?
I think so. But one of them I was watching, it's called Crash Course in Romance, and it's literally about a mother and a math teacher getting together, and then they throw in a crime like 6 episodes in, and you're like, this didn't need to be the conflict of the drama. I'm into it, but it didn't need to.
How often does the heroine get kidnapped by the serial killer?
Oh, every time.
Every time, yeah.
Well,
Does the serial killer ever directly threaten the actual romance, or is it like a back, kind of stakes?
Like, are they solving the crime?
Yeah.
it ends up that way often, yes.
And
They're
you were
solving the
saying once,
crime.
often the serial killer is related to one of them.
There is another set where
Oh yes.
there is a series of dramas where it's always, from my experience, the man in the relationship, because they're very heterosexual. The man in the relationship, either his father or something, was the serial killer, and he's coming to terms with that.
There's so much in there.
Yeah,
that you can
I know.
unpack. We
Yeah.
should do a whole season on
do you
If
think
anyone
that-
wants to watch One Flower of Evil, it's the best one.
Yeah,
Or
they
Come and Hug Me. Yeah.
What do you think draws like writers of those romances to serial killers specifically?
I don't know.
I mean,
If I
this
had
is-
studied it for 2 more years, maybe I'd have a
Switch
solution
streams.
for that.
I mean, I was wondering about what's interesting about bringing a serial killer into romance is around explicit violence and the threat of predation, right? Of having a predator because romance is so much about dating and meeting people and sex. And then the serial killer is obviously the ultimate predator in the dating world.
I mean, that's what people always say, right? That when you're, speaking heterosexually, women going on dates are worried that they might get murdered, and men who go on like a blind date were worried that she might like laugh at him or be catfishing him.
There's also often when it is the man who is the son of a serial killer, a lot of his internal like turmoil is, am I just a product of my father? Which I think in turn is, am I just a product of the patriarch? Like, am I going to,
Am I as bad as
am
him?
I as bad? Is that ingrained in me, and can I step out of it?
So fascinating, because it's like this idea of like, am I inherently this violent person, or can I fight against it?
Yeah.
Which then when you look at the romance like genre as a structure, like there are scholars like Catherine Roach who've argued that it is an attempt to like repair the like wounds of patriarchy. So that is a fascinating vehicle to look at that through then.
There's also a lot of fear in love generally. So then to like put that fear outside into an external plot like a serial killer then manifests that in such an interesting way. Because there's a lot of, it would be terrifying to be pushed together because of the fear of being murdered. And I feel like that's what serial killer romances are doing in a really weirdly interesting way. They're like
So the serial
shrinking
killer
the
is
world.
not the hero.
No.
The serial killer is the threat
It's
pushing
the
them
threat
together.
Pushing them together.
Yeah.
And it
That's
allows for the
interesting.
like extremes of emotions, I think, which is like what you're talking about as well, of like that it's not just everyday fear. You can push that into real extremes, and then you can push the like emotional cathartic release when you're out of that danger to an extreme as well.
Yeah, because if I think
Yeah.
about a normal romance, I'm like, they could have a lovely candlelit dinner and then they would go and have like maybe an argument or like something else to go
That's
through.
right.
But then to walk out onto the street and, be chased by a masked knife wielding man is like a pretty, like we're really raising the stakes. So I kind of see why it's
Well,
fun.
then you've also got the next step after that. Like Bryn Weaver, I believe is the author's name, did the Leather and Lark series, which are apparently getting a film as well. But both protagonists in that are serial killers. And they start like competing on their serial killing, but they
Well, like
only
Mr.
kill.
and Mrs. Smith.
Is
but
it
for
like
serial
I was
killers?
about to say, is it like Dexter, where there's like a moral element of the killing? Like they only
Yes.
kill people who deserve it.
Yeah, and but they are extremely graphic in the way that they murder, but they begin like murdering together, but they're murdering bad people essentially. Normally,
So
like
is this
men.
very dark romance? Dark?
This would be dark romance. Yeah, that's how
Are
the
there
author
real life
classifies
instances
herself.
of serial killer couples?
Yeah, there's
Oh,
couples
yeah.
who work together. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think I can beat 2 people.
That's where you draw the line.
I kind of really thought this was a solo operation.
You know,
A 1v1 kind
no.
of situation.
And the thing, I remember reading like the Mindhunter books, the FBI guys behind the TV series, and John Douglas talked about how when you interview them, they actually recognize each other. Like they can kind of pick each other out by behaviors because they kind of see themselves as like the wolves among the sheep and we're the sheep. And he talks about, there's incidences where they can see someone else hunting in their patch and they kind of do a little, hey.
Oh.
And I was just like, wow, that's creepy, isn't it? So
Yeah, I don't
the
like
idea of
that.
two of them hooking up.
I would find
That's shocking.
two serial killer romance not as dark as a serial killer and non-serial killer though, because then I feel like they're both like predators instead of a predator and prey.
Yeah.
Like,
So are there any where the hero is the serial killer?
Not that I'm aware of, which if you think about it too hard, it is a spoiler. So nobody think about that too hard. But not that I have read. And they probably exist. And I imagine if they do exist, they're in the dark romance. And I don't know if a lot of them would identify as serial killers.
Well, yeah. Would you say that what's his name in Haunting Adeline is the serial killer?
I would say that he's a serial killer.
I would say he kills multiple people.
But they're always killing bad people, which makes them good in their serial killing. Like
Ah, he's still
they're
a
like,
serial
I
killer.
can serial kill because
Yeah.
it's bad people.
I still think if someone's rude to you on the street and I kill them and I kill a bunch of other people, I think I'm still.
This one's not technically a serial killer and not technically a romance, but Killing Eve is an example that I really love with, where she's a assassin and a detective, I suppose, but like international.
Yeah, I mean, assassins and serial killers, that's an interesting
I was
blurry
about to say,
line.
where are we drawing that? To pay somebody to kill, is that what means you're an assassin as opposed to being a serial killer? No one's paying serial killers. They just
I
do
would
it out of
hope
joy,
not.
don't they? Well, actually, you know what? People probably are. Let's
think
be
One
honest.
thing that I
Also-
find interesting is that then the way that eroticism comes into
Yes.
the violence, it intertwines. There's very homoerotic stabbing scenes, for example, in Killing Eve.
Yeah.
There's that like level of obsession and stalking and being watched and hunted. But there's I think all of those, like the ways that those feelings of like fear or danger are also aligned with those feelings of like, we talked a bit about this when we did horror romance last year. Those same feelings of like desire or like, yeah.
And they are so entangled because as you're talking, I'm thinking about all the dark fanfic and things like mob fanfic where there's a lot of killing and torture and like really how are the mob people that different to serial killers when they're killing people regularly?
Yeah.
And then that eroticism is interesting because I was thinking about, sorry, this is so random. This is just how my brain works. But vampires and serial killers and about how vampires are this highly eroticized, mesmerizing killer. And then serial killers are like the real world version, which is not at all attractive, really.
And then you start crossing the wires of various bodily fluids being exchanged. I feel like everyone got distracted.
Just needed mid-sentence.
Peyton is desperate to be in this episode.
Peyton keeps adding little adlibs.
I can swap
Peyton
out.
just held up a little sign that said avoidant people like being chased. I was like, yeah, we can add that.
Yeah, I was trying to find a way to.
How do I get that in there?
I don't know what she's talking about.
But
Wait. So avoidant people as in like people who are like they won't progress a romance themselves. They are interested in the idea of a partner who's going to follow them and insist upon it.
Yeah, right.
I'm hearing nods. I see
Seeing
nods.
us.
hearing nods.
Physically chasing a person as a serial killer that is avoidant in the romance, but then the serial killer ends up being the person that is romancing you.
Look, now we're getting real complicated.
Yeah, that's quite
yeah, I'm
the circle in
fine.
terms of character. I'd be like, what the fuck?
Can we
do I
circle
write
back
this?
instead?
Yeah.
I'd be interested to read one where the serial killer is the hero, though, because I will instantly not like that man.
Yeah, see, I don't
So
think I
then
can do. That's not my jam. I
Yeah.
don't think I'm into that.
So you have to be really well.
But I don't think I'm into dark romance either. So I'm just not
Neither.
this market.
Yeah, I'm also not very much into dark romance. I've read one mafia romance and I will admit that it really took me by surprise how little organized crime is in those books. I was expecting
The Godfather.
I genuinely was. I was like, this is just an excuse for people to be very violent.
shocked by
I had
how
a student.
little
I'm going to just do a shout out to Lydia, who a couple of years ago did honours, and her topic was dark Harry Styles fanfic, and so I read quite a bit of the mob fanfic. Wow, it's dark.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is so dark.
Yeah. It's like, the 12-year-olds who were like, I get kidnapped by One Direction, grew up into dark romance
Yeah.
readers. Yeah.
Yeah. One Direction. What are you boys doing in people's fantasies? Really?
Is that the two ways that YN meets One Direction? Is either kidnapped or sold by their mother?
Yeah. Well, I'm saying sold by the mother, turned into.
That is such a weird trope.
Isn't it?
Anyway, let's we got to wrap this up somehow, and I think Harry has a game for us.
Oh yeah, so I thought it would be really funny because I don't read serial killer romance, and I only listen to the podcasts, like I said. But I started doing research about the behavioural aspects of serial killers, and then thought, I'm not sure if this is going to work for the pod because we're talking about books.
That is funny because we do run sheets for these, and now we do.
Well, no, yeah.
We are.
Very
This is hard.
recently.
Episode 1 of the run sheet, which we
I don't even know
do
if we
great.
followed it.
And that's why this
Well, I
episode
think
is
I was
so
the
much
only
high
one
quality.
who re-looked at it, but
Yeah.
I have on someone, and I think this must have been Harry then, because I was like, oh, who put this in there? It's like, what is a serial killer? What is the legal definition? What is
Yeah.
the law?
I was like, can I
is
get a,
lead poisoning
I
to
think
blame?
it's over 3.
That's my
no?
fault.
Oh
that
yeah,
one.
that was your hard water. Is that causing serial killers? So I thought I'm going to throw some types of serial killers out there, and I thought it would be good if we assigned one to each of us on the pod. All right,
Can we do?
This is not incriminating
We also
in
do
any way.
Peyton and
whatsoever.
Millie.
Yeah,
even
Oh,
though
Peyton
they're
and
not
Millie
here.
must be. Yeah, I
For
think
legal
I've got
reasons,
one.
this is satire.
Yeah, this is just satire, I promise. But also once I get the legal definition, then I can skate around whether or not I am one, or perhaps I'm not, and I'm just having some fun.
Wait, what do you? Wait a second.
We'll circle back to that.
Actually,
So I've got.
I've got a whole book happening in my head.
What do you mean?
I've got a whole book happening in my head that's a crime novel, and there's just a smell of urine at every crime scene. They're like, "Who is this? It's the incontinence killer."
That's who Harry would be.
They'd find me real fast.
Just follow your nose.
Just grab the dog out. There he is. Jesus, that's nasty.
And on that note, so now we know Harry's. What's the rest of them?
All right. No, stop it. So I've got a visionary serial killer. So I don't know how we'd like to define a visionary serial
You
killer.
don't have the definitions
No,
there.
no,
You just wrote
that's-
down what they're
Do
called.
they have
That's what I think would be
visions?
fun
They
as
have
well.
visions, or what?
I think that's a person that wants to do something unique. Like they want a really specific type
Like they've
of kill.
really
Yeah.
they've really advanced the field.
They're
Just
really
for
pushing
everyone
it. They're
watching
doing a
and listening,
PhD.
there is no research in this.
No, there's
Harry
not.
literally
These
just
are-
has
This is just
names
made
written
up.
These
down,
are
so this
names,
is
yeah.
entirely fictional.
Yeah, and
These
this
are
is
serial
part of the
killers
fun.
who've done an original contribution.
Yes.
Yeah,
Knowledge.
original
Okay.
contribution
Original
to serial
yeah,
killing.
we're talking
Okay.
they've got a doctorate. So
Okay.
who do we think here has a doctorate in serial
I
killing?
need all the options
All right.
before we.
Then we've
Yeah.
got mission-oriented.
Mission-oriented, goal-oriented
I
serial
Goal-
think
killer.
goal-
that would be
He's got
Abby.
KPIs.
We
I think
discussed
that's,
that.
KPIs to hit, exactly. A list, they're checking them twice. A hedonistic.
Oh, all in it for pleasure,
All in it
right?
for pleasure.
Okay.
Power control-oriented.
Okay.
Thrill-motivated.
Okay.
Murderer for profit. An assassin.
That's an assassin.
These ones, I love these ones. The traveling serial killer, the local serial killer, or the place-specific serial killer.
Oh, wow.
As if
Okay.
those 3 options weren't all place specific.
Yeah, so I'll put the link up to the to
Okay.
the data
Okay.
set that this
I-
came from because it's
I
interesting.
think we've already determined though that I would be a goal
I
motivated.
think you would
Yes.
be
KPIs met.
mission-oriented.
On
serial
target.
killer.
Keep on
Emails
target.
sent. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
You
would-
wouldn't get the wanderer down the alleyway if it wasn't your target.
Oh,
Just would be
Abby would have
interested.
done the research on who to kill when a practice run.
When to kill them.
Yep.
She's probably the most dangerous of member of the pod, actually.
Probably would never get caught.
I don't
Yeah.
know where this reputation came from.
I think
It's
this
because you
reputation
can
comes
survive
from
the
being
apocalypse.
I don't know if
competent and effective.
we've done an interview. I was telling my mother about it, and I was like, I didn't write anything for that interview. It's very obvious in that I am apparently very stubborn and keep every dictatorial. And I told my mother, like, this is what everyone has written about me, and my mother was like, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
See.
So it's a toss-up between
Thought it was hilarious.
mission-oriented and then power control.
Yeah,
Yeah.
both.
Yeah.
Okay, you're both of
Yeah,
those.
we've got a double there. Who do we think is the visionary? Who do you think is going to do something I was going to say remarkable, not the right word.
Do you know I'm going to pick Millie?
I'm going to pick Millie too.
Only because of Millie's PhD, the first PhD. She's like such a visionary they're doing too.
Yeah.
But, you know, that was really outside of the box, I think. Like Millie's, Dr. Hef's PhD thesis was actually very visionary and is probably the most visionary one I've ever seen.
I
So
do think they would be very, unique about it.
Yeah, they'd be
Yeah.
creative.
No
That's
straightforward
good.
murders.
Yeah.
No.
That's fun. That's quite the title, I think. I think Visionary is the one that, well, personally, I was going to say I wanted it, but that's all right.
So you sat there and went, who do we think would be
This
Visionary?
Well, I would have
Come
picked
on,
Millie,
everyone.
actually, because I was like, damn it.
What are the others again?
Now we've got, hedonistic. Who's in it for the pleasure? Who's in it to
I
enjoy
would've-
it?
I don't know if any of us would
I don't think any of us
Well,
would
this
be.
is the thing. I think that I would definitely not be the killer for pay because I'm anti-work. But I probably would end up being hedonistic killer because everything I do is recreational.
I love that.
Oh.
Yeah.
And if I
I
was
think
serial killing, it would have to fit that.
Peyton
life
wants to be paid
ethos.
for work, so I think Peyton might
I
be
think
the one
Peyton
for
might
pay.
be murder for profit.
That
Yeah.
totally happened.
Murder for profit.
Oh, I was going to say that Harry was murder for profit.
I do
Oh,
like
actually, no, that
actually,
one-
Yeah.
possibly.
I really think that
And
Harry
actually,
would be
top
murder
dollar,
for
you
profit.
charge top dollar.
top dollar.
I don't
do it
think
very
elite.
well.
Harry
Elite
does
killer.
not do murder for scum money.
No,
No.
wouldn't do it for free either.
Exactly.
Wouldn't do it for pleasure. That's time that I could be spent doing it.
And
I
you know,
think
you
of
need to
Peyton,
pay
is
for your
there
dry
a-
cleaning after, so you need to earning
Very
something.
true.
Is there an option where you read everything surrounding around murder and you read literally everything that exists and then you do the murder? Because that would be Peyton.
I feel like that's the thrill motivator.
Yeah.
That's a thrill
footnote
motivated
killer.
killer.
Maybe
Is, you know,
the
you get the
well-read.
thrill from from just getting
And possibly
every piece of
explaining it
knowledge
to the
possible.
victim as you're doing it.
yeah. Did you know psychologically this is what's going on in my brain as I murder you?
That's right.
Or can
Don't
I ask
take
you
it
a couple
personally.
quick questions?
This
before
is
when
based
they're
on
the
like
chair?
some really solid Marxist theory.
Or
Yeah.
Or,
You know,
or- yeah,
capitalism
or is
drove
it-
me to do this.
Or is it a satirical serial killer? It's like no, but the commentary of what this
Yeah.
killing is doing.
That's right. So Peyton would definitely
Sends
pose
in,
the
like-
body.
There'd be
Oh,
like
yeah.
news articles about it and Peyton's like, no, this is the actual reason.
Yeah.
You're
Peyton
getting it
is-
wrong.
Do you
Peyton is
understand-
hand etching the bullets with the like.
Do you understand that socially I was driven to do this? It's not actually my fault. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
systemic.
This is really...
So there we go. Thrill
What a
motivated killer
first.
for Peyton.
What a
there.
first episode.
What a great
we
first
have.
episode.
We did
I
it.
think.
I didn't get to be a serial killer.
Oh,
Because
Yeah.
I'm the dead one.
no.
Dead person.
you're
No,
not the
I knew which one
victim.
you'd be, 'cause
Victim.
when I wrote one down, I was like, "This would be great." You'd be the place specific killer.
Place
because you
specific.
wouldn't want to leave somewhere
Yeah,
to
right,
travel
fair.
for it. You wouldn't want to travel to kill.
Or
Nah.
or because you have such a what's it called? You've talked a lot about
local serial
the way you research place, so you would be on the street view planning.
Yeah, that's
all
right.
Serial
The
killing.
Google Maps killer.
The Google
The
Maps.
Google
killer.
Maps
Yeah.
killer.
All right. Well, on that note, I'm a bit scared of every single one of you now. So we're going to wrap up. Anyway, if you want to get started reading our book of the month, it's Shailee Thompson's How to Kill a Guy in 10 Dates.
It's a beautiful book.
It is actually really fun. It is probably one of the few books you'll see that does horror and romance equally.
I genuinely think, because we talked a little bit last season about the combination of horror and romance, and this is what I expect when I hear like horror romance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Which is a weird portmanteau, Hor-Rom-Com. It's like a real
Horror-romance,
slide together.
Yeah.
Is it easier or harder to say than Ruro?
Horror. Yeah, Ruro is
Ruro,
always hard to
horror.
say.
Oh, I was thinking
Ruro?
Ho-Mance, and then I was like, no.
Oh,
I was trying to just like, we got to get rid of a syllable there.
I like that rebrand.
Hog
Ho-Mance.
Ho-Mance.
Rom-Hor.
Romance and a Rom-Hor.
On that note, thanks for joining us. Welcome back. It's 2026. Check our socials for all the books for the year, and we will see you next week.
Bye. Wow.
Rom-Hor.
What an episode. I feel like we really had some moments there where it was like, wow, we're saying some interesting stuff. And then it's like, what kind of serial killer would you be?
Yeah, I know. I also had down the bottom here Cholula spicy salsa because Amy told me the salsa.
Amy And is hosted by Amy Matthews, Abby Guy, Peyton Hogan, Justina Ashman, Harry Stewart, and Millie Heffernan. This podcast is recorded on Gardenland with music by Anthony Wignall and Mass Mysteria. Our logos and branding are designed by Abby Guy. This episode was edited by Peyton Hogan.